Okay, I think we are live. Happy Sunday. We're still in Mental Health Month, and today I'm here with Scott. We're going to hear a little bit about him and hear his story and talk about mental health. So, Scott, if you want, you can tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background, maybe.
Okay, sure. Um, my name is Scott O'Brien, and I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Uh, Currently, right now, I'm a professional gardener, although I do have a background in acupuncture, which I plan to get back to, or at least start to do a little bit of both of gardening and acupuncture, so that have a little bit more of a balance.
mm.
Um, which is kind of maybe an interesting segue because I think mental health is about creating balance. I mean, I, for myself, and I think probably for most people, it's a lot of work to create balance, and I think the nature of life is that it's frequently goes out of balance, and then you try to bring it back into balance, and then it goes out of balance, and then you bring it back into balance. But I don't.
Yeah, and you have to recognize when it's out of balance, and then you have to know what to do to bring it back into balance as well.
Yeah, and just to warn the audience, I may go off on tangents, and Jeff, you may have to bring me back in. uh,
Okay, well, it depends on the tangent because sometimes the tangents are some of the
okay.
best parts. So,
Okay.
um, you're kind of maybe going through a situation currently that you wanted to talk a little bit about, perhaps
Right.
related to mental health.
Well, the first thing I wanted to say is that, I think what's helped me understand, uh, I think life is full of challenges. I think it's just the nature of humanity and the
Hmm.
nature of existence that
And people.
that I think I think conflict is one of the best ways that we grow. And and so so yes, the reason I ended up wanting to do a podcast session with you is to share my experience of I'm currently, for the last 2.5 years, I've been dealing with a narcissistic neighbor. She's a
Oh.
I've studied so much about narcissism, trying to um, um, work through the situation that's come into my life. She's a covert narcissist, which is also known as a vulnerable narcissist, and I can explain that more.
Yeah, you want to give like a little brief
Sure.
synopsis of what that is for people who may not know?
Okay. Well, most people, if they hear of narcissism, they're most familiar with the grandiose narcissist, which is um, the uh, the pompous, self-absorbed person who thinks they're better than everyone else,
Like
and
Donald Trump
yeah,
is a good
yeah,
example.
and they're the most important person, and everyone else is less than them. And, um, covert narcissists, um, there's a lot of similarities. Uh, the interesting thing I've learned about narcissists is that they're actually terribly insecure people. So the image that they present, the outer image they present, to others in the world is actually like the opposite of
Mhm.
how they actually feel inside. And so in some sense, I think all narcissists are covert, meaning that they're expert at hiding how they really feel, that they really have so much self-loathing. Um, these people that I listen to on YouTube say the main way you can tell that you're dealing with a covert narcissist is that you're confused because the person is sometimes nice to you, and then they're aggressive to you, and then they're nice, and then they're aggressive, and it's very confusing, and it
Like
makes
that
you,
roller coaster.
yeah, and it makes you like it makes you go crazy.
That's been
um,
my experience with them too. Yes.
um, all of these experts in narcissism say you got to get away from the narcissist. Like they're not going to get better. They're not going to change. And what I want to, there's so much I want to share. I mean, I could, boy. Um, so the audience may be asking, like, well, why haven't I just moved away from the narcissist? She's a woman who lives below me. And the
Well,
reason is,
you probably like your place. Like if she lived with you or she was a roommate or a family member, I might wonder why you continue to live with her. But because she's just a neighbor, you
right.
you you probably like your place, and why should you have to leave because your neighbor's a narcissist? But why haven't you like? I mean, I
Well,
wouldn't expect someone in that situation to necessarily uproot
huh.
just because of a narcissist.
Well, the experts say you actually should anyway. Like, no matter how good your
I
situation,
guess it depends on how much they're affecting your mental health. And
right.
with a neighbor, to me, it's easier to control the amount of contact you have with the person.
Well, yes. You're very insightful, Jeff. Because the one thing they say is go no contact. That's an expression, meaning
That's
just give a cold hello, and don't engage in any conversation. And if they try to engage in conversation, um, just keep it minimal or just say, oh, I got to run. I've learned all these expressions. It's called gray rocking.
gray rocking. Yep.
You don't talk about anything serious with them.
Don't give them a surface to
Yeah.
attach to at all.
And don't tell them anything personal about you because they'll use it against you. And I've learned that the hard way.
Ooh, what happened?
Um, well, for example, I'm chemically sensitive. I'm very sensitive to fragrances and cleaning chemicals and air fresheners. So my narcissistic neighbor, if I still to this day do something she doesn't like, then she'll like spray perfume in her apartment and it comes up into mine. I'm serious. It's narcissism is pure evilness. Like they're evil people. Like they're it's to me it's the devil incarnated. I mean, in the negative way. I know that we've talked about. Um, I don't want to let's take the word devil out of it. It's
No,
it's
I know what you mean. That's
it's negative. It's pure negativity,
yeah.
pure darkness, pure evilness.
Yes, I've had the same. My ex was a narcissist. He was a sociopath, like psychopath, narcissist, and he was truly the most evil person I've ever. Like you could look into his soul and see the evil.
Yeah, and they say that you can actually see it in their eyes, and I can see it in my neighbor's eyes. Like there's they're they're empty souls.
That's a
They're
good description.
they're
Because
so
they're overcompensating for a complete lack or void that they feel inside.
right. And 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 they, what am I trying to say? They need a victim. So they call it a narcissistic supply.
Yeah.
So I'm currently this woman's supply.
How did that start, or what was the trajectory or build up to where you are now? And how long has she lived there? Like, how long has this been going on?
This has been going on 2.5 years since she moved
Ooh.
in. Um, and oh, so to jump back, I had this beautiful apartment. It's at a good price. It's in one of the best neighborhoods of Philadelphia. I'm a professional gardener, and it's an actually wealthy neighborhood. There's really not even any apartments in this neighborhood, but this happens to be a big, old, beautiful Victorian house that was converted into apartments.
Oh.
Um, so normally I could not afford to even live in this neighborhood, but I just happened to fall upon this apartment. And all my gardening clients live in this neighborhood. So I had like no commute. There's a beautiful community here. My gym is nearby. I have like everything is so wonderful about this apartment except for her, which is it's really like the biggest irony of life, that that something could be so great and then she showed up.
So I imagine like you started out trying to be a good neighbor or neighborly. You were probably friendly.
Oh yeah, and she was too, and the, I apologize to the audience. I feel like I'm going to be jumping all over the place.
Oh
So,
no,
okay.
that's fine. Like however your story comes out.
So the one thing with narcissists is that there's a set of rules for them and then there's a set of rules for you.
Hmm.
So um so she moved in and she was like really noisy, and I was just like, hey, can you like stop banging the cabinets and stuff? And she would be, oh yeah, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was making so much noise. Um, and then it would be quiet for a few days and then it would start up again. And then I'd wait a few weeks. This is the initial introduction, getting to know this neighbor. And then it would start up again of like bang, slam, bang, slamming doors, just really inconsiderate
Wait,
stuff.
she lives by herself?
Yeah, she lives there below. Yeah. And then I would be like, hey, Annie, can you please stop slamming the cabinets and slamming the doors? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize, like that went on like 5 times. And then
Now
finally,
is this you're going to her door and telling her this, or are you like yelling it through the floor?
no, I would like see her outside. I would wait till I
Oh,
could
okay.
go to her.
So when you saw her, you would mention it.
Yeah. And then finally, like the fifth time, she was just like, um, don't tell me what to do. And I realized at that point, I realized she never had any intention of stopping, and then that's when it started. Like that's when the war started. And and then it just got worse from there. Like um it's hard to remember all of the trauma. Um
So
because
she knew the noise bothered you. Do you think she was intentionally doing it when she could, knowing that?
so then that's the thing. So then she's super noise sensitive. So if I would make any noise, and she wouldn't talk to me, and she wouldn't say, hey, like that's too loud for me. She would just start doing retaliation behavior. And then when I would ask her about it, hey, is like my washer making too much noise, or should I not do it this time? She would just say, oh no, everything's fine. Like, don't worry about it. It's apartment living. But then when we were both in the apartment, it was clearly that whatever I was doing was a problem, you know.
And I'm sure you weren't slamming cabinets or banging
No,
doors either.
no. And it's so hard to explain. The one thing they say, you know, these experts say, don't even try to explain narcissistic abuse to someone who hasn't experienced it, because they won't believe it. Like, it's so, like, I mean, you experience it, so I can share it with you.
Several times, yes.
And and so it's like if I would have someone over and we were having just like dinner and not even really being loud, that would be a problem for her. But then she's allowed to have her friends over and make a lot much more noise. And I can't say anything, because if I do, then she'll spray perfume or slam doors deliberately, because so it's
So she kind of has you hostage.
yeah, and it's like walking on eggshells. And I've come to learn that it doesn't really matter what I do, because if I stop doing this, and this, then she'll have a problem with this, you know, like there always will be something. Like that's the mode of operandi, you know, that to make me wrong so that she's a victim, so that she has a reason to feel shitty about herself, you know, instead of looking at her own self.
Yeah, oh no, they won't ever do that. I don't even know if they can. And she knows she has power over you too. She knows she has the power to affect you. So when she needs to feel powerful, she can
Right.
do these little things.
It's interesting you brought that up. So one of the things I've learned is the hard way is to never ever let the narcissist know what 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 they do bothers you, because they try to antagonize you.
Mhm.
And then if they antagonize you and you react, they like, oh good, that's what they react to. I mean, that's what's bothering them, so that's what they do. So
Yes.
it's really really hard
It's
to like,
childish.
it's so childish. And so it's been a beautiful skill I've learned to like, I know she's trying to antagonize me, but I'm not going to let her know that it does. So that so that she can't say in her mind, oh, that's what it is. You know, that's how I can get them. And it's been exhausting. It's been um, and I should move. I should move. The experts are right. They'll ruin your life.
Yeah, but why should you give up? Like the way you described it, it has everything you're looking for, all your conveniences. Why should you give that up for this one person?
For your mental health.
That is true. I'm the one that preaches to prioritize your mental health above everything else. But at the same time, like there's the letting the narcissist win thing too, which can be
I
hard.
know. Well, that's one of the reasons I haven't left. And I really want to share that, you know, it's been 2.5 years in, and I've grown so much. You know, the experience with this woman has made me, and it could have been just as well be a man. I just want to say that has strengthened me in a way. It has strengthened me to my core in a way that it wouldn't have otherwise, you know. And so I want to say to anyone who's experiencing abuse from a narcissist, I do think the experts are right that you should leave, but I don't think you should leave until you've learned or developed some skills of strength it, from dealing with a narcissist. If you can, I mean, some narcissists are just so abusive that you really just should get away right away. Um, but it's although it's although it's physically worn me down, it, and also emotionally, but and spiritually, it's made me very strong. Um, it's made me realize what's important in life. It's really made me develop survival skills. It's made me determined to not be that person that she is. It's made me, I'm determined to find my happiness, because when you live through so much negativity, it, for me, it just something clicked where I just was like, I I'm determined to live and find my happiness and live a beautiful life, because she showed me what a horrible negative life is like. And so in some way it's been like she's been the greatest teacher and the greatest experience.
I think that's a credit to you
Well,
as a
thanks.
person.
Um,
What put you on the track initially that it was narcissism that you were dealing with?
God, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Um, to be honest, I can't remember. I think I just came across some YouTube video that started to explain. I forgot what I Googled something at some point,
And then it started to click from
and
there.
yeah, and then when I started to watch a few YouTube videos by like Richard Grannon is an amazing person to watch on YouTube.
What's his
And
name?
Richard Grannon,
Grannon?
yeah, I believe that's his name.
I'm looking him
Maybe,
up.
yeah, thanks. Maybe I don't want to give the wrong information out.
Oh yeah, Richard Grannon, Grannon.
He's amazing person to watch. Dr. Ramani is also
Is that
amazing.
the lady? She's like Indian or Iranian.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, I've seen. Yes, I have watched some of hers.
She is absolutely amazing. If anyone watching this feels like they are struggling with a narcissistic person, these these two individuals and several more, I just can't think of other names right now, have been lifesavers for me. They've been they've thrown me a net and brought me back to shore. I was literally drowning and in pain, in emotional pain.
Hmm. It's definitely a real thing, and when you don't know what it is, you can feel crazy. You could feel like it's something about you. You're not sure what's going on. There's a lot of confusion, but once you start reading about narcissism and all of the points start lining up almost perfectly, and then that light bulb goes off, then it is kind of a lifeline, like you described. It gave me my sanity back, that's for sure. Like the first time I experienced it with my first ex, I don't remember when I first discovered what it was either. but it was bad. Like I was living in Las Vegas. I ended up leaving Las Vegas and having to go back to Louisiana just to get away from it. It was so bad. I packed my car up and hit the road. Like I had to leave my friends, everything, to get away. And even then, I'm not sure I knew that it was narcissism. I just knew it was a very dysfunctional situation. Like I knew it wasn't healthy.
Um,
And at some point, narcissism came on my radar, and I started reading about it and studying it. And that's when I had the language to communicate with others what he was and what I had been through.
wow. Yeah, I see myself leaving here, and and I don't know when. I just feel like it'll maybe be within the next year. And 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 um, and I'll be okay. And and I'll be taken care of. And I learned a lot. And I think the chapters in my life to come forward, my my life, my future life still coming to me is going to be really great because of the strength I've developed and the boundaries and the determination and the strength and the courage I've been through, you know.
Well, you seem hopeful and optimistic. Where do things stand now? Has it kind of settled into a stable pattern, or is it still turbulent and disruptive?
No, I mean, I like I know how to deal with her, you know, like I know I the thing is I do like quiet. So, you know, she doesn't want me to have the TV on. She doesn't want me to have people over. She doesn't
So,
want me to make any noise, but which actually in some way works for me because if I had to choose between quiet or noise, I'd rather just have quiet anyway. So it is ridiculous. So I tiptoe in my apartment. I don't bring anyone over. I I don't have sex in my apartment, which is ridiculous, you know. But
all
she's
because of her?
yeah,
And the
She's a Christian fundamentalist also, who goes to church every Sunday. She thinks homosexuality is a sin because I'm a gay guy. And like I can't bring someone over and have sex in my apartment because I would be punished for it. Like I
so
know.
the consequences would be she would start making your life miserable if you do any of the things that
Right,
you should be allowed to do as an adult in your own apartment.
right. um,
Yeah, it's a game.
yeah, it's a sick game. And
There's a movie, I think it's with Ben Stiller, maybe Drew Barrymore, and this they buy this house and this old lady
uh
moves in or something and makes the duplex. That's what it's called. And it's kind of a comedy, but it reminds me of this situation. And it's how do
yeah,
they get rid of this old lady? I mean,
right.
it ends up in extreme catastrophe, like trying to fight this lady.
I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard about it, and that's
You
kind of what
probably
it's like.
relate to it.
Yeah. Um,
Well, you seem to have like good equilibrium and equanimity around this. You seem very you talked about balance earlier, and I'm wondering what you do are some things you found that help you maintain or restore that balance when it does get out of whack, which I imagine happens a lot with her.
oh yeah. Well, for me, physical activity um, has been my saving grace. You know, because you know I've been doing gardening, so like I spend the day outside.
Ripping
Um,
things up.
yeah, I'm spend the day outside, being physical, being out in the sun. You know, with my shirt off, and then we're going to the gym, and like I have to say, because of her, I've had like the best workouts. I've got more work. I probably would have killed her if I didn't
Oh,
have, have that physical um, outlet of being physical. And I'm not embarrassed or afraid to say that things were so bad that, I mean, this is almost comical, but things were so bad at some point. I actually was like contemplating, like, okay, if I kill her and I get 15 years in jail and I get out in 7 years because of good behavior, like it's worth it. She was so fucking evil, honest to God, like if I ended up killing her and the police said, did you kill her? I'd be like, yes, I did, like, she deserved it. And I have no regret, like she tortured me, you know, and
they
tortured,
can have that effect on you.
yeah. So, but that was before I had the skills and the understanding.
Mhm.
Richard Grannon has an interesting way of explaining it. He says, just don't think of them as a human being. Just think of them as like, I think of them as artificial intelligence that's just trying to irritate you. They're just like an artificial intelligent machine. It's just trying to irritate. It's trying to irritate you. So if you realize what it's trying to do and don't react to the irritation, that it confuses the artificial intelligence and it doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, you kind of have to outsmart them, and you have the advantage being the adult because they work off of a very childlike sense of emotional maturity.
Yeah, and I think she's jealous of me.
Oh,
That
she
I.
probably hates herself and the entire world. Like she's probably so bitter inside.
Oh yeah, I and I've tried to feel bad for her, and sometimes I do, but I I don't, because they also, when I say they, I mean these people that I listen to. They say, they know what they're doing. They know they're being evil. So I don't feel bad for her.
That's sad.
I know. I mean, it's mental illness at its best or worst, like one would say. I don't-
It's very hard to project human quality. Like you have compassion and empathy, or just humanity, and it's very hard to project that onto which is a natural thing to do. We assume other people have those same qualities, but when you try to project that into a narcissist and find those qualities, they're just not there. But it's hard to not see people with those qualities.
Right, yeah. You're such a great person to talk to about this.
Oh,
I didn't know
I've
I didn't know what you've been through until you just shared that with me. I didn't know that about you.
oh, almost every guy I date. Like if you put me in a room of 10 guys, the narcissist, the sociopath, the psychopath, that's the one I'm going to make a beeline for. Like my imprinting, the thing that determines what we're attracted to. Because it was explained to me like this one time: if you didn't grow up with violence in your home and somebody hits you, like a partner, you know right away that's messed up and you'd probably be ending the relationship at that point. But someone that grew up with abuse and they get hit, that's just normal. It doesn't signal to them that this is any kind of dysfunction. So narcissism is kind of the same way. If you grew up with narcissism and it was normalized, then when other narcissists do it to you as an adult, it doesn't really register as anything negative. And those are the people they look for too, because we have a vulnerability to us. I think they can kind of sense that we've already been treated, like had that experience with a narcissist before. So they know who the supply is that's going to be successful for them. And so when I'm with a narcissist, I don't notice. It takes me a long time to notice that something's off. And in the meantime, they're getting their hooks in. So they're going to be attractive to me right away because that's what I'm familiar with.
Well,
And I'm not going to notice quickly enough that it's a negative situation. So I'm very vulnerable to that. Like almost every guy I've ever been with has been narcissistic.
But I don't think you would be so vulnerable anymore. In fact, I
Oh,
think you
I
would
think I
probably
froze up.
recognize it quite quickly and be like, no, thank you. You've frozen up to me, just to let you know. Just to let you know.
Are you there? I froze up for about 30 seconds or so, so I didn't catch the last sentence or two that you said.
Okay. Well, two things I wanted to say. One is I agree with you. I think narcissists recognize and see the vulnerability of someone else who may have experienced abuse, but it doesn't have to necessarily be narcissistic abuse.
Right. They know who's kind of they know who's damaged and more, I guess, vulnerable to that, and who's healthy and resilient and is not going to put up with their mess.
Right. And I also want to say, I don't think you would be vulnerable today if you ran into one. I think you would recognize the behavior quite quickly.
I don't know. I thought that about this last ex too, and I got
Uh,
caught. So
yeah.
I have not developed the confidence in my ability, so I'm very cautious going into relation. Especially the more attracted I am to the person, and the more like rapport I have with them, where it just seems like things are going really well. That's the time to be most suspicious for me, because that's probably the time where I'm idealizing and overlooking the most.
Interesting. And
And that's like in your situation, it wasn't relationship, so it just happened to be a neighbor. So it's not like you were drawn to her for any particular reason. But when you're dating and looking for relationships, there are things that can actually draw you specifically to narcissists.
oh, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I've heard of that. That we're almost drawn to people that aren't good for us.
Yeah, based on our childhoods and our parents and all
Right.
kind of factors.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's another whole conversation.
Yeah.
Well, so they say, well, I guess one thing maybe I want to share with you is what they say is that, so don't share anything really personal right away. So even if you do meet someone new and you are interested in them, just don't share anything super personal right away in case they do turn out to be.
That's so hard. I'm an open book. Like I'll share my whole life story to the person on the bus next to me. I'm just naturally
Yeah.
transparent that way. Yeah, but you're right. That's not bad advice.
Um,
Be
but
cautious.
I think we're similar, it's like I don't want to censor myself, want to just naturally share with someone what you feel like you want to share and not feel, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a balance between opening up, because you have to open up and be vulnerable to get to know someone, and being cautious and protecting yourself at the same time.
Right.
And just being discerning about the person. And with me, that's hard. Like even with the autism, I don't pick up, it's really hard for me to read people. And so I don't always pick up on what other people might notice. So that makes me extra vulnerable to, like, I'm very naive. So people that are looking for people to prey on, we tend to make attractive victims just in general.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I thought with autism, you'd actually be more keen, attuned, is that the right word? To picking up someone trying to mess with you.
I feel like I'm less. I feel like I'm more naive and more gullible than the average person. Like I think a con artist would find me attractive. I get pranked all the time, like people that are looking to play practical jokes or stuff. I'm the one that's always going to fall for it. That kind of thing. I don't. whatever people are using to filter that out doesn't register for me. So I'm very trusting. I take people at their word. So I'm very easy to fool
Hmm.
because I don't disbelieve people until I have a reason to. I just assume everyone's telling me the truth until I find out otherwise. I can't be naturally cynical or skeptical.
And I want to say that should be a good quality.
It's a dangerous quality.
Well, yeah, but with humanity today, unfortunately, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's one of my lessons I have to learn. Like you learn pretty quickly from your experience with the narcissist.
Well, I mean, I did have a really tough childhood. There was abuse there. So
Oh,
from an early age, I learned. From an early age, I felt life was unfair, and then so what am I trying to say? So I felt that I think from an early life, I've tried to look at life from a spiritual perspective of like, well, what is this situation trying to show me? So I came in even before the situation with my narcissistic neighbor. I've already had a view of looking at life of like, what is this hardship trying to show me? What is this hardship trying to show me? So when this one came in, it was just like, it was a tough one, but I was still like, good Lord God, what's this one trying to teach me? And now coming out the backside of it, I can see that I needed to become stronger. I needed to become a stronger person. So that's I can see why this narcissistic person came into my life. Because I there was a strength that I was lacking that I needed. And and I believe in I don't really follow any religion, but I do believe the philosophy of we come into life with agreements of what we want to learn this lifetime, and then I think God or source energy, they figure out how you're going to learn it. And I do believe in that, the saying of like, and so that lesson that you decided to learn before that I decided to learn before I incarnated, that if I don't learn it, then it becomes harder, and then if I still don't learn it, it becomes harder and harder until it like clobbers you over the head, you know?
that
Um,
sounds like such a healthy attitude, though, and from such a young age, from you to like approach adversity and challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
yeah, thank you. You reminded me, I forgot, I was watching some YouTube video and I forget where, I always forget where I'm hearing these things, but there, there was, someone was saying like, I think they did studies with like identical twins or two people that have gone through the exact same experience. And one person, it like crushed them and they became like a drug addict and like they became completely dysfunctional. And the other person had the exact same experience, like it made them stronger. And so
Yeah,
so I
that
bring that
interests me too.
I bring that up because that's a really interesting, to me, like that's kind of like mental health too. It's just like, how can two people experience the same experience, and for one person it destroys them, and the other person it makes them tough and strong. And so maybe you have some insight, because focus on mental health of why that happens, between.
There does seem to be some innate resiliency, like more innate in others than some than in others. So I think it's a combination of like temperament. Some people are just born with this natural resiliency that others may not be, and then a combination of early childhood experiences, like what influenced you as a child that might have developed that as well. So I think it's that nature nurture combination again,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to separate one from the other. But I do think some people just have more of an innate sense of resiliency or perseverance through child. Like when I lost my partner and the grief, I went through grief. That's the first time I had been through that, so I didn't have any experience with that. But somehow I got through it, and I couldn't tell you to this day what got me through it. There's just something in me that eventually came out of it and started to heal. I had some experiences that kind of facilitated that and helped that to happen, but on its own, I didn't consciously do anything to overcome it. It kind of just was a natural process that happened in me, independent of my conscious will. So it seemed like that's innate. Like I don't know where that came from, if I had it. And growing up, my mom told me that I was very independent as a child. Like I was off of the bottle very early. I was sleeping in my own bed very early. So I made all my milestones as a baby very early. And that just was something that came naturally to me, where other siblings might have taken longer. And so some of it really does seem to depend on the individual nature of the person.
Oh, interesting. Jeff, I'm going to be right back. I'll just be gone for a second.
Okay.
I'll be
I'll
right back.
stay here and
Okay,
keep them entertained, hopefully.
Okay.
I can't sing songs because of copyright. But I can't sing songs anyway because I can't sing, but even if I could. Do a little dance. We could check Twitter. I haven't spent a lot of time on social media at all the past few weeks. I don't really know what's happening in the world. Um, I'm browsing Twitter now. It doesn't look like anything new. The same culture war stuff, politics. Let's see if I have any announcements. Well, we have our men's group every Monday, 6 p.m. Central. You can email me for that. Primalhex, PRIMALHEX at gmail.com or at Twitter. I think that's it. I have a few spots open this week if anybody wants to be a guest and come on and talk.
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Well, is there anything you want to wrap up with or close with?
Well, I'm really glad I did this. I'm really grateful to you.
Me too.
I I appreciate your insight. It's helped me today, and I'm glad you're in our men's group.
Oh, yeah, me too. What a great group.
Yeah. So, um,
Well, I appreciate you sharing.
thanks for listening.
Thanks for sharing.
It's good to talk about it. I I think probably that's maybe the most important thing I do want to share if anyone's watching this and suffering from this is that to reach out and um and don't suffer alone and and find a friend or a group to to get through this, because
Mhm.
it's been my good friends hearing me out, that's helped me get through some of the really toughest parts of it. So,
Especially with a narcissist, because you can feel very isolated and crazy. And one thing they do actively is try to isolate you from people that might help you see the situation. So don't be afraid to reach out and talk to somebody if you suspect
yeah.
that's what's going on.
Yeah, I've had to start seeing a therapist, and but some of the greatest healing was just going on long walks with friends and them listening to me and giving advice, and just being a lending ear, and helping me strategize about, how can I survive the situation, or whatever. Yeah,
And that you're not crazy.
yeah, and that, yeah, and
Well, thank you again.
yeah,
Um,
thanks a million.
I
Um,
hope you have a good day. Do something fun and active.
yeah,
And so this is like your moment while she's away to have your fun on a Sunday.
yeah. Sunday morning, she always goes to church, so it's the
Ironic.
one. I know it's the one guaranteed time that I have the apartment to myself.
Well, I hope you do something fun and have a good rest of the week. And I'll see you later this week.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. It's a beautiful day here, so I'm definitely gonna get out. I hope you do too. Get out.
We'll see.
You're not
I'm
gonna go out today?
well. I'm kind of a homebody. I
Oh,
need to get out more. That's one of my goals. Is to
oh,
meet more people. Most of my life is online, so meet more people in person and find more things to
yeah,
do outside. But it is we are getting our spring finally, so I hope to get some hiking and maybe some camping in this summer.
yeah, yeah. Human connection is the best way to address mental health, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just so jaded. I'm working on it. I'm jaded, particularly this read, like with the locals, but I am working on it.
Well, I wish I was there. It would be really great to just go hiking together.
Oh man, we'd go on a hike. Well,
Thank you, Jeff.
thank you. Have a great day and a great week, and we'll talk again.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for